Hello and welcome to Let's Talk About Money. Today I have Ashlee Livingstone with me, and Ashlee's a transformational coach and breathwork facilitator who helps high-achieving women stop living in overdrive and start feeling deeply connected to themselves again. She has a background in leadership, development, and wellness, and she blends strategy with soul. And I have been in Ashlee's world, and I can say that that is absolutely true. And whether she's leading corporate workshops, intimate breathwork sessions, or one-on-one coaching containers, Ashlee's mission is clear: to help women remember who they are, trust themselves fully, and create lives that feel as good on the inside as they look on the outside. I love that. Welcome, Ashlee.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and having this conversation with you today.
Me too. I think there's so many overlaps in the work that we both do, and I'm really excited to unpack where they lie and what it is we can take from your world and add to our financial world or our financial toolkit. But before we get into all that, let's start at the beginning. How did breathwork become such a central part of your work as a transformational coach?
Yeah, so I always say that I am not overly woo. I'm I'm like I was actually very woo resistant, and when I was working with my own personal growth coach, we were in this container and there were other women, and some of them were like so into all these different like forms of deep work. And I wanted strategy. I was all about like, tell me the tools, tell me the template, give it to me, and I will follow it. And my coach, as they do, knew a little bit better and highly encouraged me to try breath work. And so I did my very first breathwork session. And when I did, I was still a little bit resistant, but I think the whole, like, my whole world opened up to me because for the very first time, I actually heard my voice, not the negative, overwhelmed chatter that has been of constant, but that true voice within me that's like, you're scared, or like, you just need to slow down, or you've got this. And once I heard her myself, um, I couldn't stop listening. And so that's really what kind of baited me into doing breath work. And I was like, oh my goodness, I haven't listened to myself in so long. Even though I thought I was doing all the right things, I was checking all the boxes, I was even in personal development, but it was breath work that really opened it all up for me.
Wow, how powerful. It's like the gateway drug to self-development
I
and
know.
self-improvement and alignment and all these things. I can attest it is powerful. So can you tell me a little bit about what is happening in our body and in our mind when we are practicing breath work, and why is it important specifically for high achieving women who may struggle with high cortisol or stress? Why is this important for us to practice, or a good tool for us to use?
Yeah. Okay, so what's happening? Let me chat about that first. When we are practicing breath work, and a lot of people will be like, you're going to teach me how to breathe? Yes. And you already know how to breathe. I get that. This is about conscious awareness of your breath. So, breath work, in the way that I've been trained and the way that I facilitate, is about bringing in conscious, continuous breath. So, you are bringing in a lot more oxygen into your body than you normally do. So, there are some very like physiological um, things that happen inside, right? Like you might feel tingling in your body. You might feel this overwhelming sense of calm wash over you. You may actually want to move with the breath, but I find it can really help you deeper than meditation, get you into a meditative state. Because when we go into something like meditation, we've been told, and I don't typically believe this, but we've been told clear your mind, think about nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so for high achieving women with high cortisol, that never happens, right? It's really, really hard to clear your mind because as soon as you're still, your brain dumps everything. And it starts telling you all the things like, how much longer? Do you really have time to be doing this? Oh, did you forget to sign Timmy's, school trip thing? So all of the things start popping into your head. With breath work, you actually have your breath as the anchor. So I don't encourage you to think about nothing. I encourage you to follow your breath. And by focusing on every inhale and every exhale and just following it over and over, you now have a focus. And then as you continue practicing, as you know, your brain actually does naturally shut down and your body starts to process, whether that's letting you hear your intuition for the first time, whether it's hearing, okay, this is where you need to slow down. Maybe it is actually just feeling calm for the first time, getting your nervous system from the sympathetic, overactive fight or flight side into your parasympathetic, which is responsible for safety, rest, calm. There's so many really cool things that happen when you're doing breath work. But I find for a lot of high achieving women, the biggest thing I hear is I felt calm. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is not for a lot of women, myself included, is a foreign feeling. I
Mm-hmm.
know when we connected initially, I hopped on a call with you and you asked me what I did when I felt stressed. And for me, it's always been exercise and it's been running specifically. And you explained to me that by breathing the way I do when I run, it's really not doing anything for my nervous system. It may feel good, but breath work is really so beneficial because you're really truly slowing things down, slowing your nervous system down,
Yeah.
which is so difficult. I'd love to for you to add to that.
Yeah. I think that the piece, like now we're starting to hear more and more about nervous system regulation and the role that it plays in helping you manage your stress, or as I even like to say, give you more space between stressful moments.
Ah, yes, that's
Right?
so much more achievable than
Yes.
banishing stress. I love that reframe. Go on, go
Yeah.
on.
So for a lot of people, and you might hear this too, and maybe you've even said this, is people will say to me, like, I want to live stress free.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like, okay, I can't give you that because you're still human and you're still going to have human experiences like dealing with your children, paying your bills, going to work, getting a new mortgage. Like, all of these things create stress in our lives. That's okay. The challenge that most of us actually have with stress is that we have activated stress and then we've become stuck there.
Yes.
And we don't know how to come down or create space between our next stressful moment. And maybe someone listening is like, but I don't have any space. The stress just keeps hitting me over and over.
Hmm.
Tools like breath work or nervous system regulation will help you realize, okay, this is a 2 on the stress scale, not a 10. And oh, yeah, this actually is a 10 and it deserves the reaction I'm having right now. When we think everything is a 10, our body gets stuck there. Our body is just like, here's another thing. Oh my God, and this, and oh my, and we're just, I almost like picture it like we're wound, like our nervous system is this tight, 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 tight rope. And every piece of stress just tightens it a little bit more. Whereas breath work, I imagine it like it loosens the rope so that it's not so tight in our bodies. It's not so tight in our throat when we're like talking about it.
Hmm.
And the things that bothered us or may have caused stress that are ones, twos, threes on the scale, we don't really need to react to anymore.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And it's so interesting because I talk to my clients, of course, about money. And I always say that operating from a place of stress, scarcity, fear is never going to give you the result that you want ultimately.
Hmm.
Operating from a place of confidence and clarity and groundedness is going to help us, but it's hard to get there. Let me acknowledge that. I mean, it's 2025. We're speaking in April, at the end of April 2025. Everybody is there in some capacity, but I want to talk specifically about maybe what you see in your practice with women and stress around money. What kind of stress patterns do you see coming up with the people you work with?
Yeah. Money, money is one of the biggest um, blocks that so many people have. Whether it's fear about the economy, um, fear about their businesses, there's a lot of fear around money. There's a lot of scarcity that comes with this. And then there's a lot of, I'll actually even say, like, guilt.
Yes.
So I have a lot of clients who have a comfortable living, who have wealth, and now they feel guilty about it, or they're scared of losing it. There's there's a lot of fear that actually wraps itself around money. And what I notice is that a lot of the stories that we have, that you have, that I have, that everyone has, most of the time they're not even ours, right?
Very much so. You're absolutely right.
But we put it on, like we wear it like it's our shirt, and it's not our shirt. And I can, after doing this work myself, like I have a bunch of money stories that I'm still moving through. The piece that I always encourage people is start with awareness. Start recognizing that maybe you do have some money stories and that they're holding you back from living this life of fulfillment and alignment that you really want. Because when you say things like, I want to own a rental property and I can see the like vision of this and it feels so good and I want to do that, but I can't afford it. And it's like you immediately shut yourself down because there's a story there. So I like to encourage people to at least start with being aware of what the story is. And through practices like breath work, meditation, journaling, coaching, you can start to understand, like, why is the story there? How is it trying to keep you safe? Because that's what fear usually is doing. It is trying to keep you safe. It really, 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 truly believes it's serving a very important purpose, which is to keep you safe and keep you alive. So understand how it's trying to keep you safe. And then, this is the hardest part, is building that confidence and that safety within to say, I'm afraid and I'm going to do it anyway. I'm not actually in danger, so I can do this. Because our bodies don't understand the difference between the lion chasing us and us actually being in danger for our lives.
And looking at your credit card balance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And seeing debt, right? And I say that with air quotes, right? It doesn't know the difference because we have the same reaction. So breath work is a really great space to help you build safety in your body, to notice, like, okay, some credit card debt is not my life in danger. Does that land?
Absolutely. And I think your use of language, Ashley, is so beautiful because you said at the beginning of your response that you you need to move through it. And it truly is moving through it, which sounds scary at first, but with the tools to know that you're safe. And I also love what you said about your body really does feel like it's in danger. And I think that's very validating for some people who are thinking, I'm operating at this like low level of anxiety all the time and I'm like ready to pop. And a lot of women that I speak to, they tell me, they say, Brie, I am so angry. I'm like right there all the time. It's not my kids' fault, but it's spilling onto my kids. And I think a lot of women feel alone in that feeling because we don't talk about it. We hold it. And what you're saying is we need to move through it, support
Mhm.
it, supporting ourselves, supporting our bodies. And I think, yeah, I think that's just such a great way to talk about stress and
Yeah.
money.
It's the piece is like, again, this is part of our upbringing and society. So the fact that you have a podcast like Let's Talk About Money, it's so perfect because we weren't told or taught to talk about money. Right? Even in school, they don't really teach us how to budget or build a cash flow plan or, what real life looks like.
But you know what a parallelogram looks like?
Yeah, I use that every day.
Yeah,
Never, ever, ever, never, ever. But I
exactly.
use my budget every day. I'm in my cash flow plan for my personal life and my business life weekly. Like I'm in that. And it's not, sometimes it's scary. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes it is. Sometimes I have that feeling and other times I'm like, okay, like I've got this abundance. I'm working through. I can and look at the progress.
Hmm.
But we're not taught to talk about money. We're not taught actually to talk about sadness. We're not taught to talk about anxiety or anger, especially as women. Don't talk about your anger. Like, we're allowed to be mad. You're
Are we?
allowed to be mad. Yes. And there's this like really creepy yet cool saying that as soon as I heard it, I could never unhear it. So now I'm going to share, which is feelings buried alive never die,
Oof.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is why so many women, and I'll say men too, because I think it is extending, are on this cusp of why am I always angry? It's right here. And I know it's not my kids. I know it's not my job. I actually know it's not my partner. But there's just like anger that is constantly simmering, or fear that is constantly simmering, sadness that is constantly there. Like, if one more thing happens, I'm just going to start crying. And it's because you have shoved so much down for so long that it is just like about to come out.
And then it starts to affect our self-worth, right?
Yeah.
Because you are operating from this place of fear, scarcity, all of
Mhm.
that. And I'm curious about how self-worth shows up around money with your clients, like how folks spend money or save money or how they feel about earning money. You touched a little bit on it before, but I'd like to dig in a little bit deeper there because I think it's so interesting. Probably be validating for lots of people listening as well.
Yeah. So I have this like really cool visual that I like to pull on when I talk about self worth. So, regardless of like where you are, what you're doing, unless you're like driving, don't close your eyes. But if you can like close your eyes and almost like picture inside your body this beautiful bright light ball. Okay, this, and that's your self worth. Maybe for you, it's like purple and sparkly, or maybe it's like radiant orange and reds. Maybe it's blue, like whatever colors are coming to you. Just picture this beautiful ball of shining bright light. And this is your self worth. Maybe for you, it's kind of tiny right now. Maybe it's hard to find. Maybe you have to sort through and like find it. But one of the pieces that starts to happen with our self worth, even from a very young age, is we start to get these hooks that hook its way into our self worth. And so I want you just to notice your self worth and start to notice if there's any hooks, attachments. I'm pretty. Getting that gold star on your paper. Getting an A plus on your report card. Getting your first paycheck. Right? Start to notice what may have hooked itself into your self-worth. And the challenge here is when you get the gold star, man, it feels so good. Your self-worth like blossoms a little bit. But then when you don't, it gets tugged. And it feels like, oh no, my worth is attached to this outcome. So even when it comes to money, it's like, oh I make, we hear this all the time, $10,000 months or make 7-8 figures. And if you are attached to what you make to define how worthy of a human you are, that pulls on your self-worth. If you make an abundance and then you start being like, oh, I'm not giving enough to others, or I'm selfish for spending money on myself, that tugs on your self-worth. And so this can really affect how we spend money, how we think about ourselves when it comes to money. But the key here is we actually have to start to unhook and detach from all of these external beliefs. Because we're all worthy just because we were born. And just because you are who you are. It has nothing to actually do with how much money you make, what home you own, who you donate to, the clothes you wear, what sports your kids play, the marks you get. Who thinks you're pretty? It doesn't, you are worthy just because you are you.
How freeing is that?
Yeah.
That's such a beautiful sentiment. I love that. And I love that visualization of the hooks in my beautiful bright light. No, thank you.
Yeah.
The hooks. And I talk about this idea of the outward pressure a lot on the podcast too. Like we talk about lifestyle inflation, and that's when, as you earn more money, you spend more money, and that's largely because of the keeping up with the Joneses kind of mentality. And it's interesting because in different places of the province, I see different things happening, and it's essentially just wanting what your neighbors have. But why? But why do we want the things that our neighbors have? Does it inherently make us more valuable? I think not. And you're telling me it's absolutely not the case, right? So how then, if we want to be in alignment with what's important for us, how do you kind of pull your clients along that journey or encourage that?
Yeah, I love that because I think that's a question not very many people ask of how do we live in alignment with what is meaningful to us? Not our neighbors, not our parents, not our partner, not our kids, us. And so one of the things that I love to guide people through is a life alignment session. And this is a session that is personalized, it's one-on-one, and it actually helps you gain crystal clear clarity on what your top priorities are at this moment in your life. Not the top priorities you had when you were 20, not the top priorities maybe even when you just had your children or going into retirement. I'm talking right now in your life.
Are you telling me I'm allowed to change?
You're allowed to change your mind. Yes.
Thank
Say
you.
it louder for the people in the back.
Right?
I've changed my mind. That's a whole other podcast episode. I could write a book about how many times I've changed my mind. And you have to give yourself permission, because what happens is people don't change their mind or they don't think they can, and then they're living out of alignment. So this session really helps you get crystal clear on what your priorities are right now, and then measures them. So this is where it's the strategy meets the woo, because it measures how fulfilled you are in your life based on your highest priorities right now.
I love data.
I love data. I love it. So I
Right.
can look at a map, your life map, and it'll show me exactly where you feel most fulfilled, and most out of alignment.
Mm.
And then through our coaching session, it's like a 90-minute one-on-one. We I help uncover like why you feel this way, what the stories are you're telling yourself, what you actually want to feel instead, right? Without the guilt. And then you get your own customized roadmap that tells you exactly how to do this.
Wow. We love a plan.
It's a plan. And I always, because I'm like big in the like limiting beliefs and getting into your body and regulating your nervous system, it's a plan with support, right? Because we need to be able to feel safe before any new change happens.
And I will attest that even in my capacity that I work with clients, a tool is so helpful. And I find it to be so grounding when you have something that's assuring you like you're on the right path, even if it's your own voice while you're doing breath work, or if it's your breath that just continues as you are doing your breath work. I think a tool or something to ground you is so helpful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and clarity itself, we said this like before we hit record, like clarity itself is grounding.
Yes.
Most people will say to me like there's so much chaos going on around me, or I don't have clarity, and that feels untethered. It feels like you're just like, I don't know where I'm turning. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if this is the right place to spend my time, energy, money. And a process like this gives you that clarity. And then immediately people are like, oh, I feel so much better now because I know. Right?
Yep. Yeah. Because you have a direction. I think feeling um, stagnated in an icky feeling is just the worst. Feeling like you're between a rock and a hard place with nowhere to go. That's such a limiting feeling for
Yeah.
anybody, I think.
Yeah. And like I'll be honest, when I do, because I do this on myself, I'll take the assessment and I'll look at where I'm in alignment, where I'm not. And one of the pieces that really kind of clicked for me this year is I have a son. And so on my priority list, he's 12 and a half. He is my top priority. He's my number one, right? There's still a lot of parenting that is happening. There's still a lot of presence. And he is my top priority, and I own that. And that is in such fulfillment and alignment for me that I actually can give myself permission to not have to spend a ton of time focusing there. So right now, when I think about what is going to move the dial the most on my life, it's my business. So my business is not fully in fulfillment yet. It's on its path, it's on its way, but I can give myself permission to say, if I focus here in this priority, even though he's my number one, I can give myself permission to focus on this priority because it's going to have the biggest impact on my overall life fulfillment by spending time here. It's going to move the dial the most on my life.
I think that's such a great permission to be able to give yourself, especially as mothers. Before we hit record, we were just talking. I'm currently living in the spring market. I'm in a very busy time in my business, and it's just kind of, and I have no control over that. I can control how I feel about the stress. I can control the hours I work. But at this point, for my family, I need to make money now. And it's a season, right? And I don't have to feel bad about that. And I thank you for that permission personally and for the audience, because I think it's easy to get down on yourself and to say I should be doing XYZ because that should be my priority, but you're going to shit all over yourself. Just be.
Yes.
Just be, right? So we're coming to the end of the interview. What would you want my audience to hear from you if they only heard one thing about money and the work that you do?
Oh gosh. Okay. One thing is that there's abundance all around. And if you can slow down, even for just a moment, and take a really beautiful, nice deep breath. Maybe you can even do that now. Like take a nice deep breath in through your nose, back out through your nose. Maybe a couple more. Maybe you're starting to feel that like relaxation just wash over you. What I want to challenge and invite you is to notice the abundance all around you. To ask your brain to show you how there is abundance. There's an abundance of people. Like even if you just look around and look at all the people, there's so many people. There's an abundance of tools. There's an abundance everywhere. And if you can start to notice the abundance, it'll quiet down the scarcity.
Wow, that is so profound, and I feel even calmer just doing those couple of breaths with you. So thank you. And if my audience wants more of you, which they will after that beautiful calm, even the way you speak, Ashlee, it's amazing. Where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm pretty active on Instagram. So if you want to connect with me there, I'm Ashlee.Livingstone. And then my website. So all the ways to work with me, free tools, there's free audios and things on there. And my website is ashleelivingstone.com.
And that will all be in the show notes.
Perfect, because I have a million E's in my name. So
you do. That's hilarious. Well, thank you, Ashlee, for joining me today. I so appreciate you taking the time and sharing everything you know.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure.